Let's talk about Joe Biden's immigration crisis, because Joe Biden is facing an immigration crisis of his own making, and specifically him as well. Can we show our wonderful graphic about Trump's border policy, John? If we can get that up. That's Trump's border policy, is there will be a giant, big, beautiful wall, and if you're an immigrant, you'll stay on the other side of it, and you'll go and apply through the normal, legal, lawful channels, or else. I mean, looking back, again, just the Trump era just seems like this glorious golden age at this point compared to Biden's America.
I mean, say what you want, say what you want about Trump, but I mean, his policies were very direct, and I love it.
And excellent as well. This is an excellent policy, and I'll show you how we know this by the end of this segment, right? So this is Trump's immigration policy. Don't come. Stay home. And he also dramatically reduced sort of not just illegal immigration with the wall, but legal immigration as well through various other legal avenues, right? And that's perfectly sensible. America is not just like an open door that you're free to walk into. It is not like the 17th century where you have a pristine, almost undiscovered continent that's ripe for colonization. That's just not what the United States is now. That's not what anything is now. But this is Biden's immigration policy. This is from joebiden.com. And I'm just going to read you some of this because I want you to hear the kind of rhetoric that's being used. Pay attention to the tone of the words. It's not about being factual or neutral on the subject. No. It begins, "It is a moral failing and a national shame when a father and his baby daughter drown seeking our shores." Yes, on the part of the country from which the father came and on the part of the father. Anyway, when children are locked away in overcrowded detention centres and the government seeks to keep them there indefinitely, which that wasn't the case, when our government argues in court against giving those children toothbrushes and soap, when President Trump uses family separation as a weapon against desperate mothers, fathers and children seeking safety and a better life, when he threatens massive raids that would break up families who have been in this country for years and targets people at sensitive locations like hospitals and schools. Man, this is sounding based. Trump is doing a great job against illegal immigration. When children...
No stone unturned, huh?
Yeah, no stone unturned. When children die in custody due to a lack of adequate care, which I'm sure is happening constantly. Trump has waged an unrelenting assault on our values and our history as a nation of immigrants. It's wrong, and it stops when Joe Biden's elected president. Joe Biden understands that as an irrefutable source of our strength. Generations of immigrants who've come to this country with little more than the clothes on their backs and hope in their hearts and a desire to claim their own piece of the American dream. It's the reason we have been constantly able to renew ourselves, to grow better and stronger as a nation and meet new challenges. Immigration is essential to who we are as a nation, our core values and our aspiration for the future. Under a Biden administration, we will never turn our backs on what we are or what makes us uniquely and proudly American. The United States deserves an immigration policy that reflects our highest values as a nation. So pretty strong pro-immigrant rhetoric from Biden there. As president, Biden will end the Trump administration's cruel and senseless policies that separate parents and their children at our border, which means that he's not going to separate child traffickers from the children they're trafficking. Because the child traffickers will just say, well, they're my kids.
God, it's like Captain Sweden levels of stupid.
It is Captain Sweden levels of stupid. They'll end Trump's detrimental asylum policies, this being the catch and release policies that Biden's brought in now. Because Trump was like, we'll catch you and we'll deport you. And Biden's like, no, we'll catch you and release you into America. Just good luck, child traffickers, with those kids. They did DNA studies. 30% of the children that were caught at the border with an adult were not related to that adult. Yep. That really makes you think, doesn't it? They're going to end mismanagement of the asylum system. There's going to be a surge in humanitarian resources to the border, then end prolonged detention and reinvest in the case management system, end the so-called national emergency that siphons federal dollars from the Department of Defense to build a wall, rescind the un-American travel and refugee bans, increase the number of visas offered for work, marshal federal resources through the establishment of a task force for new Americans. Again, like new Germans, new Swedes, and then new Americans, you see. Push to repeal extreme anti-immigrant state laws, reassert America's commitment to asylum seekers and refugees, and increase the number of refugees we welcome into the country. Couldn't be more obvious a statement to the world that Joe Biden wants loads of refugees to come to the United States by any means. And they're not just like illegal immigrants. They're irregular migrants. Irregular. Remember, changing of the language is very important. And so this rhetoric, as CNN reported earlier this month, caused a massive surge of illegal immigrants to the US-Mexico border. More than 100,000 in 1 month came to the United States southern border. 100,000 1 month. That is ridiculous.
I mean, you're looking at, what is it, like 1.2 million for a year there?
Yes. Literally 1 million a year are going to be coming to the border. And Biden's like, yes, we love every refugee. You're all valid. And of course, we're a nation of immigrants.
Refugee, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you've got to understand they're fleeing poverty. I
don't buy it. Like Mexico is not an asshole country, Joe.
Yeah.
You don't have to say that.
I mean, that's what I always used to say to my parents when I went home at Christmas and raided the fridge. It's like, I'm fleeing poverty, Mum. I haven't got any food like this at home. But yeah, so things are staggeringly out of control. And this, of course, is a massive swing upwards on the graph. This isn't something that was, slowly building. Oh, no. Under Trump, it was going down because Trump was like, stay home, you're not coming in. We're building a big, beautiful wall that you'll just have the giant shining words Trump with a golden avatar of him on it, presumably.
Chat is pointing out a good point here, which is that is 100,000 new voters a month, though.
That is a good point. Joe Biden would like 100,000 new voters a month. But the thing is, he's so popular, does he need them?
Just make sure.
Thousands of these people, of course, are unaccompanied children. There has been a 120% jump in unaccompanied children crossing the border. If you can go to the next one, John. Crossing the border, according to agency statistics that were released in, I think it was in February. I can't remember the date exactly. But it's the last month or so that this has come out. But these were numbers from October last year to October to December last year. So it has gotten worse. And of course, the agency that's usually responsible for dealing with this has fewer beds for these minors to stay in. They used to have nearly 14,000, but now they have just under 8,000 because of, quote, COVID social distancing restrictions. Sorry, kids, you're going to have to sleep on the floor. Why? Because if you slept on a bed next to another bed, you might catch COVID. Even though COVID is absolutely no threat to you whatsoever, sleep on that floor. COVID restrictions. Welcome to Biden's America. It's humane. Anyway, so there were only 2,700 open beds back in December. I did see an article that was quoting that 7,000 unaccompanied minors were encountered in the last month with this 100,000 wave. So I guess they're all just sleeping on the floor. But anyway, unsurprisingly, US border agents are afraid of being overwhelmed because they're a bunch of xenophobic bigots. Border Patrol agents are overwhelmed with the surge of migrants as part of Texas, in parts of Texas, and have to restart catch and release policies, turning people just loose into the US because what are they going to do with them? They haven't got the facilities for them. I mean, no one thought there'd be hundreds of thousands of them coming month after month, but then I guess people didn't think Joe Biden was going to win. We're in the front. Todd Bensman, a Texas-based Homeland Security expert and senior fellow at the Center for Immigration Studies, says we are on the front end of what will very likely turn into a major immigration crisis on the border. The catch and release practice is the single most powerful incentive that exists on Earth for mass immigration. Nothing else propels mass migration like catch and release, and very, very quickly. So the fact that they will be caught and just released into the US...
I hate this whole framing, the idea that this is a policy or this is a measure. It's no, this is an abandonment of your duty to have a border. That's all that is.
Yep.
That's not, oh no, we have a policy of catching them and then releasing it. No, that's just, don't even put the officer there then.
Yeah.
There is no border.
Yeah,
that's
just let them walk across.
Yeah. What is the alternative?
Yeah, just like we do with Wales. On the plus side, though, the Welsh are becoming so xenophobic against the English, they're going to build a big, beautiful wall against us.
Well, on the bridge?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Go for it.
Yeah. Anyway, and so what has had to happen because of the hundreds of thousands of people coming and the now nearly 10,000 unaccompanied children is that under Biden's administration, they're putting kids in cages. We can go to the next one, John. US is reopening the Texas tent facility that was used to hold immigrant teenagers under Donald Trump's nefarious and evil regime. But under Biden's nefarious and evil regime, it's actually nice and shiny and happy and good for them. This is the Carrizo Springs facility in Texas, which was converted 2 years ago into a holding facility under Trump and was closed in July 2019. And it had a large tent that served as a dining hall with assembly area, children housed in dormitories with bunk beds and tables. And it's reopening to account for the coronavirus pandemic and the problems. So CNN have referred to this as migrant overflow facilities opening under Biden. Migrant overflow facilities. That's charitable. Especially as it was not so very long ago that these were being described in a very, very different way. The Biden administration is opening an overflow facility for unaccompanied migrant children apprehended at the US-Mexico border. The reopening of the facility comes amid an increase in apprehensions of unaccompanied children on the southwest border, fueled in part by deteriorating conditions in Latin America and a perceived possible relaxation of enforcement and reduced capacity limits on other facilities due to COVID-19. Oh, really? Oh, really? Can we not remember how they were described? Just a few months ago. Again, the Washington Post, a great example. Kids in cages is how they describe them. Of course, CNN described them the same way. They all describe them this way because they thought, oh, this sounds bad. This makes Trump sound bad. Even though it is true, of course, that Obama built those cages. But Trump's zero tolerance immigration policy has no precedent. That's not true. It actually does have precedent.
I remember at the time as well, we covered this. People were showing around images of kids in cages being like, look at this horrible stuff.
From the Obama administration.
No, but the images were actually from Palestine.
Oh, okay. But there were also pictures going around where they had like the tinfoil, blankets, yeah, which is weird considering you're in Texas. I've been to Texas. I don't see why you would need to keep warm. Like, it's boiling all the time and it's awful. It was almost as bad as Florida, temperature wise. But so yeah, it's weird. Like, you know, these kids who are like freezing to death in Texas. Weird. Anyway, so and if we can go to the next one, John, of course, the first migrant facility for children opens up under Biden. This is a good thing now. This is a good thing. These aren't kids in cages. These are migrant overflow facilities.
I mean, that's when you're not just deciding that borders are for hippies or something. And just,
no, borders are for Nazis.
Yeah, and just, catch and release, meaning no border.
Yeah. John Lennon's like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted.
I've never understood. Why don't the Americans literally just throw them back over the border? Like, remember, we read, I think you had a comment from someone who actually worked on the border, and they said that they sat there and they saw them jump over the fence and just sit there.
Yeah,
waiting to be picked up
because they knew they'd be released.
I don't know why the government of the United States didn't just say, no, we know you came from Mexico. There's no
rock up with the trebuchet and
no, but I mean literally just walk you out to the checkpoint and just be like, bye. Like, you came from Mexico, you're not allowed to do that.
Presumably the same reason that our navy isn't just escorting the migrants back across the channel to France. It's like, where do you think we don't think you came from Syria on a boat?
Yeah, but there are some more complexities there with maritime law and all the rest of it. But I mean, this is a physical land border. There's no way you didn't come from Mexico, and we just watched you jump the fence. So I
makes you wonder. But anyway, as the Washington Post point out, we can go to the next one. It's not like Trump at all. Biden's new border move isn't like Trump's kids in cages. It sounds really weird because it sounds exactly the same. Trump's policy on the border wasn't controversial merely because it resulted in children being held at the border, which is a long-standing reality and what will happen at this facility. Right, okay, so they're doing exactly the same thing. Thank you, Aaron Blake.
Don't worry, we'll put a Black Lives Matter logo on it.
Exactly. It's controversial because it forced children to be separated from their parents, given its hardline policy of requiring the parents to be held and not released into the country. Oh yeah, hardline policy. Hardline policy of not just merely allowing all of the illegal immigrants in because they arrived. That's hardline. Having a border is a hardline policy, according to the Washington Post. Unreal. Whether you called those cages or chain link partitions or anything else, though, it's not the situation at the border facility that Biden administration is reactivating, nor the administration forcing these children to be separated from their parents. Whenever one thinks about how these children are handled once they're taken into custody, it bears little resemblance to what happened under Trump. Yeah, Trump actually prevented trafficked children from being trafficked. Just saying.
What a Nazi.
What a Nazi. But when a new, I can't remember if it was ABC or CBC or one of the alphabet news agencies went down to the border and asked the migrants, so why are you coming then? And this is what they had to say.
Do you know that there's a new president in the United States?
Sí.
Do you think that you have a better chance now?
Sí, sí.
Sergio Chavarria brought one of his 4 kids, calling back home to Honduras to assure his family they made it across the border.
And why did you come now?
No se había podido hacer.
Before, I couldn't come, he says, but the new president gave us an opportunity.
Literally, Biden is why we came. Biden saying, you can come in, everyone can come in, we love immigrants, blah, 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 is why these hundreds of thousands of immigrants are coming. And then they're phoning home on their cell phones. How do they get reception? Like, how...
I don't know. I'm sure they're on the same network or something like that.
Why? Why would someone from Honduras have the same?
No, but like the
phone...
electronics would work in the same place. Like when we go to Russia or whatever.
Yeah, but then you're on like roaming charges and stuff like this. Are you not?
Yeah.
Like this is going to cost a fortune. How can they afford this?
Because they're not actually refugees.
Exactly, they're not actually refugees. They're all kind of, you know, obviously well-fed people from Central America who are just like, that would be a nice opportunity. I'm going to take one of my kids, with obviously the intent of bringing the rest at some point later on. But we
can't draw a direct line there. Biden has caused this. I mean, the people themselves are saying that is the case.
Yeah, that's the only reason. Well, I mean, Trump wouldn't let us in, but Biden will, and so here we are. Thanks, Joe. And Biden isn't going to go down to the border to help out. He's got no plans to visit. He doesn't care. Not his problem, obviously. Someone else's problem. They're not going to be in his neighborhood, are they? Not going to be taking his job, are they? No, none of his problems. So Biden just doesn't care. But the pressure has been mounting because, of course, 100,000 people turning up in a month is absurd. And when they're like, literally, you invited us, Joe, and we're just going to get released in because you can't deal with us. And the Border Patrol guys are like, this is going to overwhelm us. We don't know what to do. And so Biden was forced to come out, and in a recent interview with ABC, if we can get the next one, John, had to come out and say, I can say quite clearly, don't come over. Don't leave your city or town or community. So Joe Biden has arrived back at Donald Trump's border policy. Trump was right. Trump was right about all of this. I'm looking forward to the Joe Biden border wall. Looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to AOC crying at these new overflow facilities.
Exactly. I mean, Biden literally was like, we're going to send people back who cross the border. It's like, really? Everything you said on your campaign was either a lie or really naive. And the thing is, since you've been the vice president already and you've been in politics for 50 years...
And you built the cages.
I have real difficulty believing it's naivety that brought this about. It was you lying. You saying, well, anything Donald Trump does is bad, therefore I have to be for the opposite. Even when the opposite... I mean, like, there are going to have been probably thousands of people who got raped and murdered or just died of natural causes or accidents, whatever, on the journey to this place, to this position. So his immigration policy was deeply irresponsible and has not helped anything whatsoever. If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.